UK Defense Secretary John Healey has dropped a bombshell on the ongoing Iran war. Addressing a press conference, Healey claimed that Russia might be possibly helping Iran with drone tactics in its attacks on the Western bases and positions in the Middle East. At the moment, we're taking part in analyzing the drone that struck the hangar at Akrotiri, Cyprus, for any evidence of Russian or any other foreign components and parts. We will update you and appropriately publish any findings from that when we've got them. But I think no one will be surprised to believe that Putin's hidden hand is behind some of the Iranian tactics, potentially some of their capabilities as well. Not least because one world leader that is benefiting from the sky-high oil prices at the moment is Putin. It helps him with a fresh supply of funds for his brutal war in Ukraine. John Healey said that the British authorities were investigating a suspected Iranian attack on a Royal Air Force base in Cyprus last week. Healey further said, and I quote, "I think no one will be surprised to believe that Putin's hidden hand is behind some of the Iranian tactics, potentially some of their capabilities as well. Not least because one world leader that is benefiting from the sky-high oil prices at the moment is Putin. It helps him with a fresh supply of funds for his brutal war in Ukraine." During a visit to an army base in Northwood, Healey said reports of further attacks on commercial ships in the Middle East amount to a major escalation from Iran that flout international law.
We've seen the reports overnight of more civilian commercial ships that have been attacked, unarmed, doing their normal business. This is a major escalation from Iran. It is a breach of international law. It's a very serious situation that is having an impact on oil prices and the cost of living for everyone. Well, we've seen this established growing axis of aggression, haven't we, between Russia and Iran. We've seen the way that Russia has fired nearly 60,000 Iranian-style drones into Ukraine, and we see from Iran some of the same tactics we see from Russia in Iran. And so those links between two countries that menace their neighbours, that pose a threat more widely to us all, are part and parcel of what we're dealing with, what our forces out in the region are dealing with. But the first-class planners we have in this building are anticipating and helping us deal with as well.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer defended his decision to not join the US and Israeli strikes on Iran in the Parliament.
Mr. Speaker, we are not increasing the cost of petrol. We're absolutely clear in taking the measures that are necessary to deal with the impact of the conflict in Iran. We're dealing with that with other allies. We're taking the necessary action. But the best thing that we can do, Mr. Speaker, is to work with others to de-escalate the situation. And Mr. Speaker, as I said to the House last week, I took the decision that we should not join the initial US-Israeli offensive against Iran.
While countries like UK and Spain have decided not to join the war, European nations are concerned that Washington, D.C.'s consumption of weapons in the Middle East would lead to shortage of arms that the European nations wanted to purchase to supply to Ukraine.
As Donald Trump's military along with Israel pounds Iran, Europe has a lot to worry. The European officials are now worried that the West Asia conflict could cost them the war in Ukraine. According to a political report, European governments fear that Washington, D.C. is rapidly consuming large amounts of weapons in the Middle East conflict, arms that the European nations had hoped to purchase and deliver to Ukraine in its war against Russia. According to a representative of a NATO nation, Washington, D.C. could prioritize its own national defense requirements in the coming months, marking a shift that could affect military support to Ukraine. Another European official expressed concern about the possibility that the US President Donald Trump could cancel existing defense agreements, halt arms shipments. Earlier, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his frustration over the scale of weapons used during the first day of Iran war.
I also want to thank every leader, all the countries who remember the BIRD program, a program that allows us to purchase American missiles for air defense, for Patriot systems. We all understand the risks from Iranian strikes and the need for air defense missiles also in the Middle East. It's crucial that the protection of lives is ensured here in Ukraine as well. There are reports indicating that Russians are providing intelligence to the regime in Iran, specifically to help them coordinate strikes against Americans. Furthermore, there is also evidence of Russian components found in Shahed drones, which are currently being deployed in the Middle East. This action is clearly directed against both Arab nations and American personnel in the region. Every single fact of this kind clearly indicates that we are confronted with regimes that are not simply interconnected, but whose very existence is mutually dependent. The Russian and Iranian regimes are, in actual fact, engaging in coordinated acts of killing, both right here in Europe and over there in the Middle East. That is precisely why our defense must be coordinated. Life in Europe and life in the Middle East both deserve equally effective protection. We, for our part, are actively working to help protect against Shahed drones. We quite rightly expect that our own defense will also be provided with appropriate assistance, and that Russia will face serious consequences not only for prolonging this war against us, but also for attempting to escalate that war even further.
Earlier, European Commissioner for Defense and Space, Andrius Kubilius, had warned that Ukraine could suffer and receive fewer missiles from the US due to the shift in focus towards Iran.
Now, it's very clear that after Iranian crisis, if we can call it so, it became even more urgent for us in Europe to ramp up production of air defense and anti-ballistic missiles. Because Americans really will not be able to provide enough of those missiles, both for the Gulf countries, for American army itself, and also for Ukraine needs. And also, what we need to see very clearly, that in Europe, we are facing also a huge challenge with the development of our anti-missile defense. As NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said quite recently, that Europe needs a 400% increase in air and missile defense. Europe needs what Mark Rutte was saying, quantum leap in our air defense, in our collective defense. So situation from that point of view is really critical, and it's obvious that we shall need to develop our missile production in a very urgent and very rapid way.
According to a Politico report, Washington, D.C.'s allies fear that Russia will seize the initiative by trying to lay waste to more of Ukraine's civilian infrastructure and attempt to move the front lines. An EU official told Politico that if Russian President Vladimir Putin was feeling any pressure to negotiate before, and it was unclear, now that pressure had gone for now. According to a Bloomberg report, the US and its allies have fired as many as 1,000 PAC-3 Patriot interceptors at Iranian missiles and drones since the start of the war, a number that dwarfs the replacement rate for the weapon. The development comes amid several European lawmakers slammed the EU for condemning Iran while allegedly supporting military actions by Trump and Israeli Prime